You're coming with me. Tonight, 8 o'clock. Wear something that doesn't embarrass me. Roman Vance didn't look up when he said it. He didn't even know her last name. But in 6 hours, the most feared mafia boss in the city would sit across from his rival and watch his plain, invisible secretary dismantle a man twice her size with nothing but a whisper and a smile. And by the end of that dinner, Roman Vance would realize the terrifying truth: he had never been in charge of anything. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and drop the name of your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels tonight. Stay with me until the very end, because what Ara Quinn does at that table will leave you speechless. Roman Vance had a rule, only one: never let a woman see you sweat. He'd broken men twice his size over a card table. He'd signed death warrants on cocktail napkins and slept like a baby afterward. He owned 3 nightclubs, 2 shipping companies, a gang on the east side, and 41 judges who answered his phone calls before their own wives did. At 38 years old, Roman Vance was the kind of man people crossed the street to avoid and crossed oceans to bribe. So when his phone buzzed at 2:17 in the afternoon and his girlfriend Sienna's voice came through the line, high and whiny and full of excuses, he felt something he hadn't felt in 10 years. Panic. "Roman, baby, I'm so sorry, but I just can't. My mother, Sienna. She's in the hospital and I have to fly to Connecticut tonight. And I know you said this dinner was important, but..." "Sienna, stop talking." Silence on the line. He could hear her breathing. He could hear very faintly a man's voice in the background, and he wondered for the 4th time that month if she thought he was stupid. "Don't come back," Roman said. "What?" "To the penthouse. Don't come back. Your things will be at the front desk by Monday." He hung up before she could cry. He didn't have time for crying. He had a dinner in 5 hours with Vincent Castellano. And Vincent Castellano did not sit down with men who showed up alone. Vincent Castellano was old world. Old rules. You brought a woman to a dinner like this because a woman at the table meant you weren't afraid of distractions. A woman at the table meant you had nothing to hide. And Roman Vance had everything to hide. He stood up from his desk, walked to the glass wall of his office, and stared down at Manhattan. 42 floors below the city moved without him. For the first time in a long time, Roman Vance didn't have an answer. That's when he remembered her. Ara. He turned around and pressed the intercom. "Quinn, my office, now." She came in 11 seconds later, which meant she'd been standing at her desk with her hand on her notepad like she always was. Roman didn't look up at first. He was scrolling through his phone, pretending to read something important. "Yes, Mr. Vance." Her voice was soft, steady. It always was. He'd never actually looked at her, not really. In 4 years of employment, he'd glanced at her maybe 100 times, and every time he'd come away with the same impression. Flat brown hair pulled back in a clip, glasses too big for his face, cardigans the color of hospital walls, skirts that fell below the knee. A woman who had been designed from the ground up to be forgotten. Roman finally lifted his eyes. "What are you doing tonight?" She blinked. Once. "Tonight, sir. At 8. I have a..." She paused, recalibrated. "Nothing important, Mr. Vance." "Good, you're coming with me." He watched her face, watched for the thing he expected. The flutter, the thrill, the quiet little gasp that every secretary gave when the boss noticed her for the first time. Nothing, she just nodded. "Where, sir?" "Delmonico's, private room, 8 o'clock, it's dinner with Vincent Castellano." Now he saw something move behind her glasses, just a flicker. Gone as fast as it came. "Castellano," she said. Not a question, a confirmation, like she was checking a word off a list. "You know the name?" "I've filed the correspondence, sir." "Of course you have." Roman tapped his desk. "Listen, Quinn, this dinner is, let's call it, delicate. I need a woman at the table. Sienna's out. You're in. You don't talk. You don't eat much. You smile. You laugh at my jokes. Easy. Easy, sir. Good girl." She didn't flinch at good girl. Another thing he'd file away and not think about for 4 more hours. "One more thing, Quinn." "Yes, sir." "Wear something." He waved his hand vaguely at her cardigan. "You know, something that doesn't embarrass me." And here finally a reaction. The smallest one. Her lips pressed together, just for a second. Then she nodded. "Yes, Mr. Vance." She walked out. Roman went back to his phone. He would think about that moment many times in the years that followed. He would replay it in his head over and over, the little press of her lips, the way her hand tightened on the notepad just slightly before she turned away. He would think about how a man could spend 4 years sitting 12 feet from a woman and see absolutely nothing. But right then, Roman Vance did not think about any of that. Right then, Roman Vance was already thinking about Vincent Castellano. Down the hall in the small beige office that had been assigned to her on her first day 4 years ago, Ara Quinn closed the door. She stood very still for a long moment. Then she took off her glasses, set them on her desk, and pressed her fingertips to the corners of her eyes. 4 years. 4 years of flat cardigans and cheap coffee, and yes, sir, and no, sir, and watching Roman Vance hire idiots and fire geniuses and sign contracts she had quietly rewritten in the margins the night before. 4 years of slipping the right memos into the right stacks. 4 years of saving his empire from the inside of a cardigan. And now he was going to bring her to Delmonico's to smile at Vincent Castellano. She almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she picked up her phone and made a call. "Mara," she said. "It's me. Pull the red dress, the one we talked about." Yes, that one. And the heels. And I need the hair done in 2 hours, not 3. Tell her it's tonight. Tell her it's finally tonight." She listened for a moment. Her face did something it had not done in the office in 4 years. It smiled. "No, Mara, he has no idea, not yet. But he will." She hung up. She looked at the glasses on her desk. She looked at them for a long, long time. At 7:43, Roman Vance stood at the curb outside Vance Tower in a charcoal suit that cost more than his driver's house, smoking a cigarette he didn't need, and checking a watch he didn't have to check. He was early. He was never early. He was nervous, and he wasn't going to admit that to himself, so he was furious instead. "Boss," his driver Diego leaned out of the Bentley. "Miss Quinn just texted. She's 2 minutes out, coming down in a car service." "A car service? Why didn't you pick her up?" "She said no, sir. She said she'd meet you out front." Roman ground out the cigarette. "That's not how this works, Diego. When I say..." And then a black town car pulled up behind the Bentley, and Roman Vance stopped talking. The door opened. A heel hit the pavement. Red, tall, sharp enough to kill a man. A leg followed, then another. Then a woman stepped out of the car, and for a full 3 seconds, Roman Vance did not recognize her. She was tall. How was she this tall? Had she been slouching for 4 years? Her hair was down, dark and glossy, and falling past her shoulders in a way that caught the streetlight. No glasses. Her eyes were what color were her eyes he'd never known. They were green, a green so sharp it looked almost gray. She wore a red dress, simple and long and brutally expensive, the kind of dress that did not shout but did not whisper either. A coat over one arm, a small black clutch in her hand. She looked at him. "Mr. Vance." Roman opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Diego was staring too. Diego had been driving Roman for 9 years and had never in 9 years looked confused. Diego looked confused. Ara tilted her head. "Is the car ready, sir?" Yes, the car. Roman found his voice. It sounded a little thinner than he wanted. "You look..." He stopped. She waited. "Appropriate," he finished. "Thank you, sir." She slid into the back seat. He followed because what else was he going to do? The door shut. Diego pulled into traffic. For a full block, Roman Vance, the most feared man in the city, could not think of a single thing to say. Finally, "Where did that dress come from, Quinn?" "My closet, sir." "You have that dress in your closet?" "Yes, sir." "And you wear it when..." She turned her head and looked at him. Just looked at him. And Roman Vance, who had stared down federal prosecutors and Russian oligarchs and men who collected teeth for sport, felt something cold walk up the back of his neck. "I wear it, sir," she said, "when the occasion calls for it." They rode in silence for 6 more blocks. Roman kept sneaking looks. He couldn't help it. Every time he looked, something new surprised him. The line of her jaw, the way she sat perfectly still but not stiff, the way her hand rested on the clutch, not clutching it, just resting. A woman with nothing to prove. He had never in 4 years seen Ara Quinn with nothing to prove. "Quinn." "Yes, sir." "Tonight, the deal with Castellano." "Yes, sir." "He's going to push for 50-50. He always does. I'm going to give him 30. We'll settle at 35. I need you to..." "Sir." He stopped. She had interrupted him. Ira Quinn had never interrupted him in 4 years. "Yes. He won't settle at 35. Roman turned fully toward her. "What did you just say?" "Vincent Castellano," she said quietly, "is in deep with a lender out of Philadelphia. He owes $7.2 million payable by the end of this quarter. He needs this deal more than you do, sir." He'll take 25 if you walk him to it correctly. He'll take 20 if you make him sweat. Roman stared at her. Quinn. Yes, sir. How do you know that? She looked out the window. The city slid by. When she looked back at him, her face was perfectly calm. I file the correspondence, sir. Delmonico's was old money, dark wood, private rooms above the main floor, a maitre d' who remembered names from 40 years ago. The kind of place where the waiters knew which families couldn't sit across from which families. Vincent Castellano was already there. He was a thick man, not fat. Thick. The kind of thickness that came from a lifetime of not moving out of anyone's way. He was 62 with white hair combed back in a gold watch the size of a hockey puck. And when Roman walked in, Vincent Castellano was laughing at something his own date had said. His date, Roman noted, was 24 and could not name a single state capital. Vincent saw Roman and rose. Romano. Vincent. You brought a friend. I brought my associate. Roman said it automatically, and then he heard himself, and he frowned. Associate? Where had that come from? He'd meant to say my date, or Sienna's replacement, or my secretary. Why had he said associate? Vincent's eyes slid past Roman to Aura. His smile froze. It was just for a moment. Most men in the room wouldn't have caught it. Roman caught it. He'd spent his whole life watching men's faces. Vincent Castellano looked at Aura Quinn, and for one single heartbeat, his face did something that Roman did not understand. Vincent recovered. And who is this lovely creature? Aura Quinn, Aura said before Roman could answer. A pleasure, Mr. Castellano. She extended her hand. Vincent took it, kissed the back of it like the old country, smiled. Miss Quinn, please, sit. They sat, and Roman Vance, still half a step behind, felt the ground move under him for the second time that night. Because Vincent Castellano, who had a 24-year-old on his arm, had not looked at that 24-year-old in 20 seconds. He was looking at Aura, really looking at her, and Aura. Plain invisible cardigan Aura, who couldn't hold eye contact with the mailroom guy, was looking right back. Not like a secretary, like an equal. The appetizers came. Oysters for Vincent, a salad for Roman. Aura ordered nothing, only water, and the sommelier did not argue with her, which Roman found strange because the sommelier at Delmonico's argued with everyone. The small talk began. Vincent's date talked about her yoga. Vincent talked about his boat. Roman made the jokes he always made, and Vincent laughed the laugh he always laughed, and across the table, Aura sipped her water and watched. Then casually, Vincent said, So, Romano, shall we talk business? We shall. Good. Vincent leaned back. Here is what I purpose. The boards. 50-50, your operation, my protection, shared revenue. Clean split. Roman opened his mouth to counter, but before he could, Vincent's date actually giggled, and said, Vincey, you're so smart. And across the table, Aura Quinn let out the softest, quietest, most delicate laugh. It was not mocking. It was not loud. It was barely a breath, but Vincent Castellano heard it, and his head snapped up like he'd been slapped. Something amusing, Miss Quinn. Not at all, Mr. Castellano. Aura smiled small and polite. I was just, forgive me. I'm tired. It's been a long day. No, please. Vincent's voice had gone a little lower, a little harder. Share with the table. What was so funny? Roman's hand tightened around his glass. Don't, Quinn. Whatever you're doing, don't. Aura set down her water. I think, she said gently, that 50-50 is very generous of you, Mr. Castellano, given the circumstances. Silence at the table. Vincent's smile did not move. The circumstances, Miss Quinn. Yes, sir. And what circumstances would those be? Aura's eyes did not leave his. The ones in Philadelphia. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Vincent's date stopped eating. She didn't know why, but she could feel it. She looked at Vincent. Vincent was not looking at her. Vincent was looking at Aura Quinn the way a man looks at a snake he just found in his shoe. Roman could hear his own heartbeat. Miss Quinn, Vincent's voice was very quiet now. You are a secretary, is that correct? That's correct, Mr. Castellano. And a secretary, Vincent said, knows about Philadelphia. This secretary does, sir. And what precisely does this secretary know about Philadelphia? Aura picked up her water, took a tiny sip, set it back down. Roman realized with a kind of slow awe that she was doing it on purpose. Every movement. She was giving Vincent time to panic. This secretary knows. Aura said that a certain lender is expecting a certain payment. This secretary knows the exact number. This secretary knows what happens if that number is not paid by the 28th of next month. And this secretary also knows that 50-50 with Mr. Vance would not in fact cover that number. Not even close. Vincent had gone very white. So what I'd like to suggest, Ara went on, with the greatest possible respect, Mr. Castellano, is that we stop pretending that 50-50 is on the table. It isn't. We both know it isn't. What's on the table, sir, is whatever Mr. Vance decides to offer you. And if I were you, she smiled, I would take it, gratefully. You could have heard a pin drop. Roman did not move. Vincent did not move. Even Vincent's date, who understood nothing, had stopped breathing. Then Vincent Castellano, 62-year-old capo killer of men owner of 3 boroughs, laughed. A short, sharp, shocked laugh, not a real laugh, the laugh of a man who has just been hit in the mouth and is still deciding whether to bleed. Romano, Vincent's eyes flicked to Roman. Where did you find her? Roman opened his mouth. He closed it, because he realized with a slow, sick, dawning clarity that he didn't have an answer. He didn't know where he had found her. He didn't know anything about her at all. And across the table, Ara Quinn, the invisible woman, the plain secretary, the ghost in the cardigan, folded her hands neatly in front of her and waited. Like a woman who had been waiting patiently for 4 long years. Like a woman who had finally decided the waiting was over. Vincent Castellano took a long, slow breath. He reached for his wine. His hand, Roman saw it. His hand shook. Just once, just enough. Well, Vincent said softly, this changes things. Ara Quinn did not smile. She simply lifted her water glass, met Roman Vance's eyes across the table for the first time all night, and said in a voice only he could hear, Your move, Mr. Vance. Roman Vance had been in gunfights quieter than that table. He felt his own pulse in his teeth. 3 words, your move, Mr. Vance. She'd said them like a woman handing him a loaded gun and trusting him to know which end to point. 4 years of sitting 12 feet from her, and he had never once heard that voice come out of her mouth. He forced his hand to reach for his wine. Slow, steady, don't let Vincent see the tremor. Vincent, Roman said, and his voice, thank God, came out even. My associate makes a fair point. Your associate. Vincent had not taken his eyes off Ara. Romano, do me a kindness. Tell me honestly. Did you bring her here tonight to negotiate, or did she bring you? Roman laughed. It was the hardest laugh of his life. Does it matter? It matters to me. Then let's say we came together. Vincent finally looked at Roman, studied him, and Roman understood in that second that a line had just been drawn. Everything that happened next would depend on which side of it he chose to stand on. He chose. 20%, Roman said. Final offer. You take 20, you keep the Philadelphia people off your neck. You walk out of here tonight with your boat and your watch and your pretty girl, and we never speak of this dinner again. Vincent's date made a small, confused sound. Nobody looked at her. 20, Vincent repeated. 20. You insult me, Romano. I'm saving your life, Vincent. The old man's jaw worked. His eyes flicked to Ara. She had not moved. She was holding his gaze the way a chess player holds a board already 6 moves ahead. Miss Quinn, Vincent's voice had gone gravelly. Tell me something. Who do you work for, really? Mr. Vance, sir. And who else? No one else, Mr. Castellano. No, sir. Vincent leaned forward. Because what you know as Miss Quinn is not the kind of thing a secretary learns by filing correspondence. What you know is the kind of thing a person learns by being told. By somebody. And I'd like to know who. For the first time all night, Ara smiled. A real smile. Small, private. The smile of a woman who has been waiting for this exact question for a very long time. Mr. Castellano, she said softly, nobody told me. Then how? I listened. Roman felt the blood leave his face because he was replaying 4 years of phone calls. 4 years of walking past her desk while he barked into his cell. 4 years of saying, hold my calls while leaving the office door cracked open 6 inches. 4 years of complaining to Diego about the Russians, about the Greeks, about the old Italian from Philadelphia who kept calling Vincent looking for money. 4 years of Ara Quinn sitting 12 feet away with her pen moving across a notepad and her face as blank as a wall. She heard everything. She heard everything and she remembered, and she never not once let it show. Romano. Vincent was looking at him now, not with anger, with something worse, with something like pity. Romano, my friend, do you know what you have sitting at this table? I'm starting to, Roman said. You are not starting to. You are 4 years too late to start to. Vincent, no. Vincent lifted a hand. No, no, listen to me, Romano. I am an old man. I have buried 3 brothers and 1 son. I have seen many, many things in this life, but I have never in my life seen a woman do what she just did to me at this table. And you, his finger came up. Not aggressive, almost sad. You have been sleeping through it. You have been sleeping through your own life. Roman did not answer. There was no answer. Vincent turned back to Ara. He picked up his wine. He looked at her over the rim of the glass. 20%, he said, and 20, Ara agreed. On one condition. She waited. You come to dinner with me, Miss Quinn. Just you and I. Next week. My restaurant. I would like to understand how a woman like you exists in this world. Roman felt every muscle in his body go tight. But before he could open his mouth, Ara spoke. Gentle, clear, final. No, Mr. Castellano. No, no. May I ask why? Because I don't eat dinners where I'm the prize, sir. She set down her glass. We have a deal at 20. Let's not complicate it. Vincent stared at her. Then he threw back his head and laughed. Really laughed. A belly laugh that shook his shoulders and drew the attention of the private room's silent waiter by the wall. He laughed until his eyes watered, and then he wiped them with his napkin and shook his head. Romano, he said. Romano, Romano, Romano. If you ever lose this woman, I want you to call me. I want you to call me the same hour. Are we understood? Understood, sir, Roman said quietly. Vincent raised his glass. 20. 20, Roman said. They drank. And under the table, invisible to everyone, Ara Quinn's hand trembled once, just once. Then she folded it over the other, and she did not move it again. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. Vincent's date talked about her yoga again. Vincent nodded and barely heard her. Roman ate food he could not taste. And Ara made small, pleasant conversation with Vincent about the weather, about the opera, about a horse Vincent owned that had come in third at Belmont 2 weeks earlier. She knew the horse's name. She knew the jockey. She knew the trainer's daughter had just gotten married in Sardinia. Roman watched her and felt like a man watching his own house burn down. How did she know about the horse? How did she know about Sardinia? At one point, Vincent turned to him and said very softly, "You know what you have." "Yes." "Yes, Mom." Roman lied. "Good. Keep her close, Romano. Men like us, we do not get second chances with women like her." Roman nodded. He did not trust himself to speak. When the check came, Vincent waved it away. "Please. It is my honor." He kissed Ara's hand again at the door, and this time it lingered a beat too long, and Roman saw Ara's fingers gently, politely, firmly withdraw. "Good night, Mr. Castellano." "Good night, Miss Quinn. Remember, if you ever need anything, anything at all, you come to me." "I'll remember, sir." And then they were on the sidewalk, and Diego was opening the Bentley door, and Roman Vance was still somehow miraculously alive. They did not speak for the first 6 blocks. Roman sat with his hands on his knees and stared at the back of Diego's head. He could see Diego's eyes in the rearview mirror, flicking back, flicking forward, flicking back. Diego wanted to know what had happened. Diego had driven them to Delmonico's with a secretary in the back seat, and he was driving them home with someone else entirely, and Diego's Italian grandmother had raised him to know when to keep his mouth shut. Finally, Roman spoke. "Quinn?" "Yes, Mr. Vance." "Look at me." She turned. In the passing streetlights, her face went gold, then dark, then gold again. Her eyes were steady, the same eyes that had been behind the glasses for 4 years, and he had never not once bothered to see them. "Who are you?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. "I'm your secretary, sir." "Don't. Don't what? Don't do that. Don't play that game. Not anymore. Not with me. Not after that." She was quiet. "Quinn, I have just watched you walk Vincent Castellano into a corner in his own city. I have watched you quote a number to him that I do not know about a lender I have never heard of in a city where I do not have eyes. I have watched you take a 50-50 offer and carve it down to 20 in the time it takes most men to cut a steak. And you," his voice almost broke, and he hated himself for it. "You have been sitting outside my office for 4 years, answering my phone and bringing me coffee. So I am going to ask you one more time, and I am going to ask you like a man asks a woman who just saved his life. Who are you?" Eric Quinn looked at him for a long, long time. And then she said very simply, "My name is Ara Quinn. I am 31 years old. I have a master's degree in economics from Columbia and a second one in international finance from the London School. I have been working for you for 4 years, 3 months, and 11 days. In that time, I have rewritten 19 of your contracts without your knowledge, prevented 11 federal inquiries by moving paper you did not know existed, and personally flagged the Philadelphia situation to Vincent Castellano's accountant 8 months ago through a chain of 4 intermediaries, none of whom know my name." The car was silent. Diego was staring very, very hard at the road. Roman's mouth had gone dry. "You moved against Castellano 8 months ago." "I moved for you, Mr. Vance." "Against Castellano?" "Yes." "Why, I am?" "Because I knew 8 months ago that there would come a night when you would need him desperate. I didn't know it would be tonight. I didn't know your girlfriend would cancel. But I knew, sir, that a man like Vincent Castellano, given enough rope, would always ask you for 50-50. And I knew that when he did, you would need something to put on the scale. And the Philadelphia number, the 7.2, accurate as of Friday." "How?" She almost smiled. "I listened, sir." Roman closed his eyes. He had a headache. A real one, the kind that started behind the eyes and moved outward. He pressed 2 fingers to the bridge of his nose, and for a long moment he could not think at all. "Then why?" "Why what, sir?" "Why are you my secretary, Ara Quinn? Why are you not running a hedge fund? Why are you not running a country? Why in God's name are you bringing me coffee?" Her answer was so quiet he almost missed it. "Because I chose you." The Bentley stopped at a red light. Diego did not turn his head. A siren went by somewhere. Neither of them noticed. "You chose me," Roman repeated. "Yes, sir." "Explain that." 4 years ago, Ara said, "I was working at a bank in London. I had an offer from Goldman. I had an offer from the Saudis. I had 3 offers, in fact, that would have made me by the age of 35 what people call rich." She folded her hands. "But I didn't want rich, Mr. Vance. Rich is easy. Rich is boring. Rich is for men who read the Financial Times on airplanes. So what did you want?" "I wanted power." He turned to look at her fully now. "Not the kind of power you buy," she went on. "The kind you build, quietly, patiently, in the dark. The kind of power that answers to no board, no shareholder, no quarterly report. The kind of power that has teeth." She paused. "I spent 6 months studying the city. I made a list of 12 men whose organizations I believed I could improve. I studied them. I studied their enemies. I studied their mistakes. And at the end of 6 months, I had one name left on the list. Me. You. Why me? Because you are brilliant, Mr. Vance, but you are also lonely, and lonely men in your line of work die young. I watched you operate for 6 months from a distance. I watched you make 3 catastrophic mistakes that nobody flagged because nobody in your organization has the courage to flag you. I decided that summer that without intervention, you would be dead inside of 2 years. Dead. Dead, sir." Roman leaned back in his seat. He stared at the ceiling of the Bentley. "And so you applied for a job as my secretary?" "I applied for a job 3 levels below that, sir, and I engineered my way up. Slowly, it was important you see that I be underestimated. A brilliant secretary draws attention. A plain, quiet, unremarkable secretary draws none. The cardigans. The cardigans. The glasses. Plain glass, sir, I don't need them." Roman laughed. He couldn't help it. It came out a little broken. "My God. I'm sorry, Mr. Vance. Don't apologize. I'm not sorry for what I did. I'm sorry that you're finding out tonight. I had hoped to tell you on my own terms, but Vincent pushed and I had to push back, and there was no other way. You could have let me lose the deal." "No, sir." "Why not?" "Because," she said, and for the first time her voice went soft, "I have watched you for 4 years, and I don't want to see you lose. Not to Vincent, not to anyone." Roman did not speak for a long time. When he did, his voice was very quiet. "Ara." It was the first time in 4 years he had used her first name. "Yes, Roman." It was the first time in 4 years she had used his. "What do you want from you? From me? From this? From tonight? You've shown me your hand. You've blown up 4 years of cover to walk Vincent Castellano off a cliff. You could have kept quiet. You could have gone back to your desk tomorrow and kept playing the ghost. You didn't. So I'm asking, what do you want?" She took a breath. "A seat. A seat. At the table?" Not behind the desk, not outside the door, at the table. I want my name on the contracts I write. I want to walk into rooms in my own shoes. I want to be the partner, Mr. Vance, not the secret. Partner, partner. And if I say no, she did not blink. Then tomorrow morning, sir, you'll find my resignation on your desk. I'll disappear the way I arrived. You'll never hear from me again. And the empire I've been quietly holding together for 4 years will function exactly as long as the momentum carries it, which by my estimate is 6 to 8 months. After that, she lifted her shoulders, a small, graceful gesture. After that, Mr. Vance, you will find out exactly how much of your life has been me. Roman stared at her. That, he said slowly, sounded a lot like a threat, Aura. It was an honesty, Roman. It sounded like a threat. It wasn't meant to be. You asked what would happen, I told you. I could lie, sir, if you'd prefer. He started to laugh again. This time it went all the way through him. He laughed until the Bentley pulled up to Vance Tower, until Diego opened the door, until Roman was standing on the sidewalk in his charcoal suit, looking at a woman in a red dress who had just rewritten his entire life in the back of a car. Aura? Yes, Roman. Come upstairs. She paused. Sir, not like that. He almost smiled. I have a bottle of something very old in my office. You and I are going to drink it, and you are going to tell me, start to finish, everything you have done in the last 4 years that I don't know about. And tomorrow morning we are going to sit down and redraw the organizational chart of my life. Partner, Araquin looked up at Vance Tower. 42 stories of glass and steel, and a city's worth of secrets, and for 4 years and 3 months and 11 days, she had been climbing it one quiet step at a time. Yes, Roman, she said, and she walked through the door in front of him for the very first time. Upstairs in the private office on the 42nd floor, Roman poured 2 glasses of whiskey the color of dark honey and handed one to her across his desk. She took it. She did not sit in the secretary's chair. She sat in the chair across from his, the one meant for clients, the one meant for equals. He noticed. She saw him notice. Neither of them said anything about it. Start at the beginning, he said. Where does the beginning start? The day you walked into my building. She took a sip of her whiskey, closed her eyes, opened them. The day I walked into your building, she said, a man named Henrik Voss was meeting with you on the 38th floor. He was offering you a shipping route out of Rotterdam. He was charming, and he spoke 4 languages, and he had letters of reference from 2 of the most powerful men in Europe. You were going to sign with him by the end of the week. I remember Voss. Yes, you remember that he died. Heart attack, on the plane home. No, Roman's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. Aura. It wasn't a heart attack, Roman. Aura. He was going to rob you blind. He had done it to 3 men before you, all of whom are dead. He was going to take your money, your routes, your contacts, and he was going to walk away with everything, and by the time you found out, you would have been in a ditch outside of Queens. She took another sip. Her hand did not shake. So he had a heart attack on the plane. It was very convenient. For everyone. The whiskey in Roman's glass trembled, not from her hand, from his. You. Me. You did that. I arranged for it to be done, not personally. I was very new then. I barely had any reach. But I had just enough. I made 1 phone call to 1 person who knew 1 other person. And Henrik Voss had a heart attack. She looked at him. 4 years of cardigans. 4 years of coffee. 4 years of yes, sir, and right away, Mr. Vance. And a dead man in the ocean between New York and Amsterdam. Roman, she said gently, drink your whiskey. We have a lot to talk about. And Roman Vance, who had never been afraid of a woman in his life, lifted the glass to his lips with a hand that would not stop shaking. Roman Vance drank. The whiskey burned. He welcomed the burn. The burn was real. The burn was something he understood. Henrik Voss, he said. Yes. Henrik Voss was on the plane. Yes. Henrik Voss was a big man, Otto. Henrik Voss had killed 3 people with his own hands before breakfast on a Tuesday. Henrik Voss on the phone to me the week before he died was telling me what color suit to buy for his wedding. And you are telling me in my office at 10:30 at night that a 27-year-old girl in a cardigan in her first week of employment at a mailroom 3 floors below me made a phone call and took him off the board. Yes. How? Roman. How Ara? She set her glass down. She folded her hands in her lap. She did not look away. Do you remember a man named Theodore Lask? Roman's face changed. Lask is dead. Lask is dead, yes. But before he was dead, he was the man your father used to call for problems that required discretion. My mother worked for Lask for 11 years, as his bookkeeper. When I was 16, Lask found out my mother had cancer. He paid for every treatment. When she died, he paid for her funeral. When I was 18 and I needed a scholarship to Columbia, he wrote the check himself. Theodore Lask was effectively my godfather. Ara. He died 6 years ago, Roman. He left me things. Phone numbers mostly, a list, men who owed him favors. I made one of those phone calls from a payphone in Queens 3 days before Henrik Voss boarded that flight. Roman pressed his palms against the edge of his desk. You, he said slowly, are Theodore Lask's daughter. Not his daughter, his goddaughter. Jesus Christ. You see why I didn't lead with that in the interview? Jesus Christ, Ara. He stood up. He could not sit. He walked to the window, then back. He pressed one hand flat against his desk and stared at it, and he could see very faintly that his fingers were still not steady. Theodore Lask, his father's fixer, the man who had, when Roman was 13 years old, taken him aside at a Christmas dinner and pressed a small silver pocket knife into his palm and said, "Boy, the world is full of wolves. You make sure you are not the sheep." Lask had given him that knife. And then apparently Lask had given Era Quinn the list. Why didn't you tell me? Roman's voice was raw. The first day. Why didn't you walk into my office and say, I am Theodore Lask's goddaughter, and I would like a job running your empire? Why the mailroom? Why the cardigans? Why 4 years? Because I didn't trust you. I didn't trust you, Roman. Not then. Theodore raised me on stories about your father. Your father was a great man. Theodore was not sure you were going to be. He told me on his deathbed, go and look at the boy. Go and look at Romano. If he is worth it, protect him. If he is not worth it, walk away. So I went. And I looked. For 4 years. And she lifted her eyes, and you are worth it. The silence in the office was enormous. Roman sat down. Slowly, he put both hands flat on the desk between them and breathed once, twice through his nose. I need you to tell me the rest. The rest is long. I have all night. You're going to want a second drink. I'm going to want a third. She almost smiled. She refilled his glass. Her hand was perfectly steady, and for some reason that was the thing that scared him most of all. There was a man, she said, named Felix Marchetti 2 years ago. You remember him? Marchetti was a federal informant. And he was 3 days from walking into a grand jury with your name on his lips. You were under the impression that we had months to handle him. We did not have months. We had 72 hours. And on the second of those 72 hours, Marchetti's wife received a phone call from a woman who claimed to be from the school district. The woman told her very gently that there had been a misunderstanding about her son's admission to a private school in Connecticut. A scholarship had opened up. Full ride, room and board, everything. All she had to do was come in that afternoon with her son to sign paperwork. Ara. She went, she took the boy. And while she was gone, a man from the bureau came to the house to finalize Felix's witness protection deal. And Felix, who was alone in that house for the first time in 3 weeks, had a breakdown. He began to drink. He began to panic. And by the time his wife came back with her son from a school that did not exist, Felix Marchetti had called his handler and told him he would not testify, that he could not testify, that his family would not survive it. You scared him. I scared him without laying a finger on him. The boy didn't know. The wife didn't know. No one was hurt. Felix walked away from the grand jury. Your name never came up. And 2 months later, Felix and his family moved to Arizona, and they live there happily to this day. I checked. You checked. I check Roman. I always check. I don't leave loose ends. Roman drank. Marchetti, he said softly. My entire organization thought the Russians scared him off. Yuri still takes credit for it. I bought Yuri a watch. I know. You know I bought Yuri a watch. I picked out the watch, sir. Roman began very quietly to laugh. It was not a happy laugh. It was not a sad laugh. It was the laugh of a man who is realizing in slow motion that the floor of his entire life has been held up by a woman he has been ignoring for 4 years, and that at any moment, if she chose, she could let it fall. Keep going, he said. Are you sure? Keep going, Ara. The Kowalski shipment. The one that vanished. The one that vanished 2 summers ago. Yes, The one that cost you on paper $4 million. The one you blamed on Diego's brother. Diego's brother went to prison for that. Diego's brother took a fall he wasn't involved in because I paid him $300,000 to take it. What? The shipment wasn't stolen, Roman. The shipment was a setup. The DEA was waiting at the dock. If your men had been there, 6 of them would have gone to federal prison for 15 years apiece. And one of them, the one we call Benny, would have turned on you inside of a week. I had word of the raid 48 hours in advance. I couldn't cancel the shipment without tipping off the informant. So I rerouted it. I made it disappear. I paid Diego's brother, who had been looking to retire anyway, to spend 16 months in a minimum security facility with a very good commissary. And when he came out, I paid for his house in Florida. Diego knows. Diego knows his brother was paid. Diego does not know by whom. Diego thinks it was you. Roman looked for a long moment at the back of his hands. Who is the informant? Still active, still in your organization. I have kept him stupid, Roman, because a stupid informant who trusts me is worth more than a dead informant who makes everyone paranoid. You know who it is. I know who it is. Tell me. She paused. Not tonight. Ara, not tonight, Roman. I will tell you, I promise you that. But if I tell you tonight, you will do something rash because you are a man who drinks when he is angry, and you are very, very angry right now. I will tell you on Monday morning when we are both sober and when we have a plan. He stared at her. You are, he said slowly, managing me. Yes, Roman. You have been managing me. For 4 years, yes. Jesus. Better me than your enemies. Somewhere on Roman's desk, a phone buzzed. Not his personal phone, not the burner, the other phone, the one that only 6 people in the world had the number to, the one that in 4 years had rung exactly 11 times each time about something that could not wait. Roman went very still. Ara went very still too. He looked at her. Answer it, she said. He answered it. Yeah. A voice on the other end, short, clipped, foreign accent. Roman listened for 6 seconds and Ara watched his face and she saw it go from white to gray. When he said, listening, where, Fishy? Listening. Who told him? A long pause, then, I'll call you back. He hung up. He set the phone down. He looked up at Ara Quinn, and for the first time that night, for the first time maybe in his entire adult life, Roman Vance looked afraid. That was Mako, he said, in Brighton. Yes. What did he say? Roman swallowed. He said somebody has been asking around the last 6 months about a woman who works at Vance Tower. A quiet woman, a plain woman, a woman nobody notices. He said the person asking is paying a lot of money to find her name. Ara did not move. Who, she said. Mikhail doesn't know yet. The person asking is using a middleman. The middleman is using a middleman. It's 4 deep. How much money? 200,000 for a name. 200,000 is not a name, Roman. 200,000 is a hit. He looked at her. I know, Ara. She stood up. She walked to the window. She stood there for a long time with her back to him, and Roman watched the line of her shoulders, and he realized for the first time in the evening that Ara Quinn was not in fact unafraid. She had simply been better than he was at hiding it. How long have you known? She said. I got the first whisper of it 3 weeks ago. I didn't take it seriously. I thought it was about Sienna. I thought someone was digging on her family. And now I know it wasn't Sienna. Ara nodded slowly. She did not turn around. It was going to happen eventually, she said almost to herself. A person cannot move pieces on a board this big without eventually being seen. Who would be looking, Ara? I don't know, Roman. I don't know. I have been very careful. But careful is not invisible. Careful is just slow. I need a list of enemies. I have a list of enemies, Roman. The list is 42 names long. That's my short list. 42. I don't move pieces without making enemies. I move a lot of pieces. Roman stood up. He walked to her. He stopped just behind her shoulder. He did not touch her, but he was close enough that she could feel him, and for the first time she did not step away. Ara. Yes, Roman. From tonight forward, you do not go anywhere without Diego or me. Do you understand, Roman? I am not asking, I am telling. From tonight forward, your apartment is my problem. Your commute is my problem. Your life, Araquin, is my problem. Somebody is paying $200,000 for your name, and they are going to find it because that is how this business works. And when they do, I want to already be there. Roman, don't argue with me, Ara. She turned. She looked up at him. He had never in 4 years been this close to her face. He had not known that her eyes had a ring of gold around the pupil. He had not known that there was a small scar, white and old, at the corner of her mouth. He had not known that at a distance of 18 inches, Ara Quinn smelled like cold water and something clean like winter, like the inside of a coat. Roman, she said quietly, I have been protecting myself for a very long time. I know, Ara. I don't need a bodyguard. I know, Ara. Then why? He took a breath. Because I'm done losing things I didn't know I had. She did not answer for a long moment. Then very softly, okay. Okay, Roman. He nodded once. He stepped back. He went to the desk and he picked up the phone and he called Diego and told him to bring the car around and to pack a bag because Miss Quinn would be staying in the guest suite on the 41st floor tonight and tomorrow and every night until further notice. Diego did not ask questions. Diego had stopped asking questions about 6 hours ago. Roman hung up. He looked at Ara. The guest suite has a lock. I know, Roman. 2, in fact. 1 mechanical, 1 electronic. Diego has a code. I have a code. Nobody else on earth has a code. Not Sienna, not my mother, not the governor of this state who asked me to spend the night there last summer after a fundraiser and was politely declined. Understood. You will be safe there. I will be safe there. Safe. Until I figure out who is paying $200,000 for your name, you will not leave this building. Are we clear? We are clear. Good. He started to turn. He stopped. He turned back. Ara. Yes, Roman. One more thing. Yes. At the restaurant tonight, when Vincent looked at you, he recognized you. Not your face, something else. For half a second. Then he covered. Then I saw it. Ara Quinn went perfectly still. Yes, she said. You saw it too. I saw it too. Why? She did not answer. Ara, why did Vincent Castellano for half a second look at you like he'd seen a ghost? Her eyes went to the window, then back to him. Because she said Vincent Castellano knew my mother. Your mother. My mother was Lask's bookkeeper, Roman, for 11 years. And before that, for 6 years, my mother was Vincent Castellano's bookkeeper. When I was very small, Vincent used to come to our house. He brought me a doll once, a little ballerina in a pink tutu. I still have it. Ara, I look like her. My mother, I look very much like her. Most people who knew her are dead now, but Vincent is not dead. And for half a second in that restaurant, Vincent saw my mother's face on a woman 30 years too young, and he knew. He knew. He pretended not to, but he knew Roman. He knew exactly who I was, and when he asked me to dinner next week, she stopped. He was testing you. He was testing us both. Roman sat down very slowly on the edge of his desk. So, let me understand. Vincent Castellano tonight knowingly did a deal with Theodore Lask's goddaughter, knowing I did not know who she was, and walked out of that restaurant with that information in his pocket. Yes. And now Vincent Castellano has that information. Yes. Roman closed his eyes. Is Vincent, he said carefully, the one paying $200,000 for your name? Ara Quinn thought about it. No, she said. No, Vincent wouldn't pay for information. Vincent would simply acquire it. But Vincent will now sit on what he knows, and he will wait. And when the time is right, he will use it. Use it how? Against us, Roman, against both of us. That's what men like Vincent do. They collect secrets the way other men collect stamps. Then we take him off the board. She looked at him. Not yet, she said, Ara. Not yet, Roman. Vincent is old. Vincent is sick. Vincent has 2 years left in him, maybe 3. If we move on him now, we burn every bridge he has in the old families, and we do it before we're ready. We let him sit. We let him breathe. We feed him information we want him to have. And when he does, which he will, we are there quietly to catch everything he drops. You have thought about this. I have thought about Vincent Castellano, she said, for 4 years. The phone on his desk buzzed again. Roman looked at it. It was the same phone, Mikhail. He picked it up. He said nothing. He listened. His face did not change. He did not look at Ara. When the voice on the other end stopped talking, Roman said very quietly, "Thank you, Mikhail. Stay on it." He hung up. He set the phone down. "Ara," he said. "Yes, Roman." Mikhail has a name, the person asking about you, the middleman at the bottom of the chain. Mikhail pulled a favor. He got a name. Who? Roman looked up. The name, he said, is Elena Quinn. Ara Quinn did not move. She did not breathe. For one long, long second, she looked at Roman Vance like a woman who had just taken a bullet she hadn't seen coming. Roman, she whispered. Yes, Ara. Elena Quinn is my sister. I know, Ara. Elena Quinn is supposed to be dead. I know. Elena Quinn died when I was 19 years old. I know, Ara. Her hand went to the back of the chair. She held on. She did not sit down. She did not fall. She simply held on. Roman? Yes. Somebody is paying $200,000 to find me, and the person paying it is using as a middleman a dead woman who shares my last name. Yes, Ara. Roman. Yes, Ara. We have a very, very serious problem. Roman did not ask her to sit down. She would not have sat if he had. He walked around the desk. He poured her a fresh drink. He put it in her hand and he closed her fingers around the glass himself because her hand was shaking too hard to do it. Drink, Ara. Roman Troyan, drink. She drank, she coughed, she drank again. Tell me about your sister. My sister is dead. Ara. My sister has been dead for 12 years. Ara, look at me. She looked at him. Her eyes were wet. He had not seen Ara Quinn's eyes wet in 4 years. He had not come to think of it, seen Ara Quinn's eyes in any particular state in 4 years because he had never looked. Tell me how she died. She didn't. Tell me what you thought happened then. Ara closed her eyes. She opened them. Her voice when it came was a voice Roman had never heard from her. It was the voice of a 19-year-old girl. Elena was 22, I was 19, she was studying in Rome. She had a boyfriend there, an Italian boy, nice family, old money. She called me every Sunday. Every single Sunday, Roman, for 2 years. And then one Sunday she didn't. On Monday, the Italian family called my mother. They said Elena had been on a train from Rome to Florence. The train had derailed outside of a small town in Tuscany. 41 people died. The bodies were... Her voice caught. The bodies were not all recovered. There was a fire. The Italian family said Elena's seat number was on the manifest. They said her purse had been found. They said she had been identified by a dental record that they had produced from a dentist in Rome because, of course, the family was powerful. And, of course, the paperwork was fast. And, of course, there was a funeral in Florence within the week, which my mother could not fly to because she was already sick. And I could not fly too because I was a college student with $800 in my checking account. Ara. I believed it, Roman. I believed it for 12 years. My mother believed it. My mother died believing it. My mother died 2 years after Elena was killed. And she held my hand and she said, tell your sister I love her when you see her. And I said, I will, Mom, I will. Roman set down his glass. And you never had any reason to question it. None, not one. No body, no funeral you attended. No remains, just a phone call and a purse and a family whose name I can barely remember. Ara, the Italian family. What was their name? She looked up. Castellano. Roman Vance did not move for a full 5 seconds. Ara. Don't, Roman. Ara. Vincent Castellano has cousins in Italy. Vincent Castellano's wife's maiden name. I know. Ara, look at me. Vincent Castellano's wife's maiden name is Castellano because the families are intermarried. The Italian branch and the American branch are the same branch. I know, Roman. Your sister's boyfriend. His first name was Matteo. He was 24. He told us his family was in shipping. He was very charming. He came to Thanksgiving once, Roman. He sat at our kitchen table and ate turkey with my mother. He told my mother he loved my sister. He cried when he told us she was dead. He sent flowers. Ara. He sent flowers, Roman. She was not crying now. She had stopped crying somewhere in the middle of the sentence. Her face had gone very flat, very still. And Roman Vance understood suddenly and completely that the crying had been for the girl she used to be. What was happening now behind those steady eyes was a very different thing. Ara. Yes. Ara, I need you to think very carefully. At the restaurant tonight, when Vincent looked at you, when he saw your mother's face. Yes. He didn't just see your mother, did he? She did not answer. Ara, he saw your sister too. The glass in her hand, which had finally stopped shaking, began to shake again. My God, she whispered. Ara, sit down. My God, Roman. Ara, sit down. She sat. She had to. Her legs had stopped working. Roman crouched in front of her, one hand on the arm of the chair, the other hovering near her knee, not touching. He had never in 4 years touched Ara Quinn. He did not touch her now, but he was close enough to feel the cold coming off her skin. Breathe, Ara. Roman. Breathe in, out. With me. She breathed. Good. Again. She breathed again. Ara, your sister is alive. I don't know that. Ara, somebody who calls herself Elena Quinn, is paying $200,000 to find you. That somebody either is your sister or is somebody who knows your sister is alive and is using her name to flush you out. Either way, your sister Ara is alive. Roman, I can't, I know. I can't do this tonight. You don't have to. I have to think. You don't have to think. Not tonight. Tonight you drink your whiskey and you go upstairs to the 41st floor and you sleep in a bed behind 2 locks and you let me think for you. Just for tonight. Ara, just tonight. Roman? Yes. If my sister is alive? Yes. Then my sister let my mother die believing she was dead. Roman did not answer. There was no answer. My mother spent the last 2 years of her life grieving for a daughter, Ara said softly, who was not dead. My mother went into the ground thinking her child was ash in a churchyard in Tuscany. And my sister, my blood, my Elena knew, and said nothing. Ara. No, Roman, don't defend her. Don't tell me maybe she couldn't. Don't tell me maybe she was forced. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. But something in her chose every day for 12 years not to find a way. A phone call, a letter, anything. And she didn't. Ara. And now she wants to find me. Yes. And she is willing to pay $200,000 to do it. Yes. Ara Quinn set her whiskey down. Her hand when she took it away from the glass was perfectly steady. Roman. Yes, Ara. I want to find her first. He looked at her. He saw for the first time the thing in her eyes that had scared Vincent Castellano for that half second at the table. It was not anger. It was not grief. It was something much colder. It was the look of a woman who had at 19 buried her sister inside her own chest and who had at 31 just been told the grave was empty. Ara, I want to find her first, Roman, before she finds me. I want to walk into the room where she is. I want to sit across from her at a table. I want her to look up and see me. I want to watch her face when she realizes I have been alive this whole time just the way she was. I want to know, Roman. I want to know why. Then we'll find her. Roman, we'll find her, Ara. You don't have to. Stop. He caught her wrist. It was the first time in 4 years he had touched her. Her skin was cold. His was not. Stop, Ara, listen to me. For 4 years you have carried my life on your back. You have made phone calls I will never know about. You have cleaned up messes I will never know about. You have in ways I am only tonight beginning to understand, kept me alive. So when I say we will find her, I am not asking your permission. We will find her. Tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Whatever it takes, whoever we need, I will put the entire machine at your disposal. Do you understand me? Roman, do you understand me, Ara? She looked at his hand on her wrist, then she looked up at him. Yes, she whispered, I understand. It was almost midnight when Diego knocked on the office door. Roman went to open it. Diego took one look at his boss's face and did not speak. The guest suite is ready, Mr. Vance. Thank you, Diego. Closed toiletries, everything in the closet. I took the liberty. Miss Quinn wears size 6, size 8, is that correct? Roman turned and looked at Ara, who was staring at Diego with something between astonishment and exhaustion. Diego, Ara said faintly, how do you know my dress size? Diego looked for one brief, panicked moment at Roman. Roman looked at Diego. Diego cleared his throat. Miss Quinn, I have been instructed to bring your dry cleaning to the office every Friday morning for 3.5 years. I'm aware. So I know your size, Miss Quinn. Roman, Ara said very slowly. Ara. Roman, why does Diego pick up my dry cleaning? Roman rubbed the bridge of his nose. Ara, about 18 months ago, I noticed you were coming into work on Mondays with your shirts slightly wrinkled. I asked Diego if something could be done. Diego, being Diego, took it upon himself to visit your apartment on Fridays and quietly take your laundry to be pressed. He has been doing it every week. I forgot honestly that I had asked. I did not think it would offend you. Roman? Yes. You noticed my shirts were wrinkled? Yes. 18 months ago? Yes. And you never said a word to me? No. And you paid Diego out of pocket, I assume, to press my shirts once a week for 18 months without telling me? Yes. Ara Quinn began very quietly to laugh. It was a small laugh, a tired laugh. The laugh of a woman who has just been handed one piece of information too many in one single evening. She laughed, and then she put her face in her hands, and then she laughed again, and her shoulders shook. Roman Vance. Yes, Ara. You are the most impossible man. I know. You notice a wrinkled shirt. You don't notice a cardigan. You notice a shirt, and you put a man on retainer to deal with it. But you do not, in 4 years, notice the woman inside the shirt. Ara, I don't apologize. I was going to. Don't. It's funny, Roman. It is the funniest thing I have heard in 4 years, Diego. Yes, Miss Quinn. Thank you, Diego. My shirts are always lovely. Diego, who had been standing by the door with the stiff dignity of a man who had just realized he was in the middle of a conversation he did not understand, bowed his head once. Of course, Miss Quinn. And Diego. Yes, Miss Quinn. Tomorrow morning the size 8 is going to be too big. Please return it. I prefer the cut of the 6. Noted, Miss Quinn. She stood. She picked up her clutch. She smoothed her dress. She walked to the door. At the door she stopped and she turned back to Roman Vance. Roman. Yes. I will see you in the morning. Yes. We have work to do. Yes. Good night, Roman. Good night, Ara. And she walked out and Diego followed her, and Roman Vance was alone in his office for the first time since the phone call from Sienna 10 hours and a lifetime ago. He did not go home. He did not call anyone. He stood at the window of the 42nd floor and watched the city breathe. He stood there for a long time. At some point, he realized he was still holding a whiskey glass and that it was empty. He set it down. He picked up his phone. He called Mikhail. Yeah. Mikhail, I need everything you can get me on the name Elena Quinn, and I need it by sunrise. I don't care who you have to wake up. I don't care what you have to pay. I don't care whose door you have to kick down. I want everything. I want a face. I want an address. I want a bank account. I want to know what she ate for breakfast this morning. Boss. Yes. This is the sister. How did you know that? Because nobody pays $200,000 to find a stranger boss. Roman was quiet for a moment. Mikhail? Yes. One more thing. Yes. I want you to pull every file we have on Vincent Castellano's Italian cousins. Specifically a young man named Matteo who was involved with an American girl named Elena Quinn in Rome 12 years ago. I want to know where he is now. I want to know what he looks like. I want to know everything. Boss? Yes. This is very old ground. Yes. This is the kind of ground that we don't usually dig up. Mikhail? Yes. Dig it up. He hung up. He poured himself one more drink. He did not drink it. He watched the ice turn. Then very quietly he picked up the phone again. A different phone, not a burner, his personal phone. He called his mother. She answered on the third ring, which was unusual because it was after midnight and because his mother usually did not answer her phone at all. Romano. Ma. Romano, why are you calling at this hour? Is something wrong? Are you hurt? You are hurt, aren't you? You sound... Ma, I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I'm fine. I need to ask you a question. A question at midnight from my son who doesn't call me for 11 days at a time. Wonderful. Ask. He took a breath. Ma, do you remember about 3.5 years ago when I called you and told you I had hired a new assistant and I said her name was Ara Quinn? A pause on the other end. I remember. You remember what you said to me? Romano. You said, oh, that's nice, honey. That's what you said. I remember it because I remember thinking that was a very lukewarm response, even for you, because usually you have an opinion about everything. Romano. Ma, you knew who she was, didn't you? A very long pause. Romano, you should come for Sunday dinner this weekend. Ma, answer the question. I will answer your question on Sunday. Not on the telephone. Bring her with you. Ma. Bring her with you, Romano. And Romano. Yes, Ma. Tell her I'm sorry it took so long. She hung up. Roman stood in his office with his phone in his hand and looked at it like it was a small animal that had just bitten him. His mother. His mother had known. For 3.5 years, his mother had known that the woman bringing him coffee was Theodore Lask's goddaughter, and she had not told him, and he had not asked. And on a Tuesday in April, his mother had said, "Oh, that's nice, honey," and never brought it up again. He began for the third time that night to laugh. This time the laugh went on for a long time. It was not a healthy laugh. He laughed until he had to sit down on the edge of his desk, and he laughed until his eyes watered, and he laughed until he was not laughing anymore. And then in the silence that followed, Roman Vance did something he had not done in 18 years. He said a prayer. It was a short one. It was not a particularly articulate one. It was 3 words long, and it was aimed at a God he was not sure he believed in anymore. And it went, "Please, God, don't take her away from me now, not after tonight, not now that I finally saw her." Down on the 41st floor in a guest suite behind 2 locks, Ara Quinn sat on the edge of a very large bed in a very soft robe holding a phone in her hand. She was not calling anyone. She was staring at a contact in her phone. The contact was labeled simply E. The number was 12 years old. She had never in 12 years deleted it. She had never in 12 years called it. She had tried in the first year after her sister died. 6 times. 7. Every time the call had gone to a voicemail that said in Italian, "This number is no longer in service." She did not expect it to work now. She pressed the call button anyway. The phone rang. It rang once. It rang twice. It rang a third time. And on the 4th ring, a woman's voice, soft and tired and speaking English with a very faint Italian accent, answered. "Ara." Ara Quinn did not breathe. "Ara," the voice said again. "I have been waiting a very long time for you to call." And Ara Quinn, 31 years old, who had just that evening taken apart a mafia capo at a dinner table with nothing but a sentence and a smile, opened her mouth, and the only sound that came out was a single broken word. "Elena." "Yes, Ara. Elena. Yes." "Where have you been?" On the other end of the line, her sister, Elena Quinn, who had been dead for 12 years, took a breath. "That," Elena said softly, "is a very long story. And I don't have much time, Ara. Listen to me. Please listen to me. The man you were at dinner with tonight, Roman Vance." "Elena." "Ara, listen. I am begging you. Get out of that building tonight, right now. Do not tell him where you are going. Do not trust him. Do not trust anyone in that building. Do you hear me?" "Elena, Ara, listen to me." "Elena, why?" And her sister, alive across an ocean or across a room or across a distance of 12 impossible years, took a breath and told her, "Because the man who paid to have me killed 12 years ago in Tuscany, yes, is Roman Vance's father." Ara Quinn did not move. For one long second, the world went completely silent. No city outside the window, no hum from the air vents, no pulse in her own ears, just a voice in her phone that had been dead for 12 years, saying the name of the man sleeping 1 floor above her. "Elena." "Ara, did you hear me?" "I heard you." "Then move, Ara. Get up. Get your purse. Get out of that building. Now." "Elena, Roman's father has been dead for 9 years. A pause on the other end. "What?" "Roman's father died 9 years ago, Elena. Heart attack in a hotel in Geneva. Roman was 29 years old. He has run the family since." Another pause. Longer. "Ara." "Yes. That is not what I was told." "What were you told, Elena?" "I was told," her sister said slowly, "that Giancarlo Vance was alive and running the organization out of a compound in New Jersey. I was told that his son Roman was a figurehead, a puppet. I was told Roman signs the papers and smiles for the cameras, and Giancarlo makes the decisions." Ara's mouth had gone very dry. "Elena." "Yes." "Who told you that?" A very long silence. "Matteo. Matteo Castellano." "Yes." "Your boyfriend." "My husband, Ara." My husband. We were married 3 months after the train. The Castellanos, the Italian side, they moved me to a villa outside of Palermo. They told me my mother was safe. They told me you were safe. They told me that if I ever tried to contact either of you, Giancarlo Vance would know within a day, and both of you would be in the ground by the week. For 12 years, Ara, I believed them. I raised 2 children in that villa. I have a son who is 10 and a daughter who is 8. And Matteo has been a good husband to me mostly, and a good father to them always. And I have not gone a single day in 12 years without thinking about you and Mother and hating myself for what they made me do. Elena, Mother is dead, isn't she? Ara could not speak. I found out 2 weeks ago, Ara. I found a newspaper, 10 years old. I was cleaning out a drawer in Mateo's office looking for tax papers, and there it was. A clipping, an obituary. 10 years old, Ara. My mother has been dead for 10 years, and my husband kept the obituary in a drawer. Elena. So I began to ask questions, Ara, quietly, the way you would. I used his computer, I used his phone, and I found out that almost everything I have been told for 12 years is a lie. Mother was not protected. She was not safe. She died alone thinking I was Ash. You were not protected either. The only thing that kept you alive, Ara, was that you were invisible. That you worked jobs nobody noticed. That you married no one, befriended no one, stayed off every photograph, every social media, every record that any of them could find. Elena, who is them? I don't know all of them. I know Mateo. I know his father. I know his Uncle Vincent. I know that they have been watching you for 12 years, Ara, and that they believed until very recently that you were harmless. Until very recently. 8 months ago, something changed. Mateo got a phone call. He was white when he hung up. He would not tell me what it was about. But that night I listened at the door of his study, and he was on the phone with his Uncle Vincent, and Vincent was saying it all over and over. Quinn. The Quinn woman. The Quinn woman is moving pieces. I didn't understand Ara. Not then. I do now. It was you. You began to move against them 8 months ago. You moved against Philadelphia, and they noticed. Ara pressed her hand against her forehead. Elena, the Philadelphia lender. The 7.2 million. Is a Castellano operation, Ara. It is Mateo's uncle's money. You have been quietly bleeding them for 8 months, and you did not know you were bleeding them. And now they know it is you. Oh, God. That is why the $200,000. That is why the middleman. They know the woman moving pieces is named Quinn. They do not yet know it is you. They think it may be me. They think I may have found a way out. They are using my name as bait. Because if the Quinn woman hears Elena Quinn is looking for her, she will do one of two things. She will surface or she will run. Either way, she is visible. Either way, they find her. Ara closed her eyes. Elena. Yes. I need you to stop talking for 1 minute. Ara, there is no time. 1 minute, Elena. Please. Silence on the line. Ara Quinn sat on the edge of a bed on the 41st floor of Vance Tower, and she did the thing she had been trained by a lifetime of quiet work to do. She put her feelings in a drawer. She closed the drawer. She locked the drawer. She picked up the pen on the nightstand. She began on the back of a room service menu to make a list. She thought for 30 seconds. Then she spoke. Elena, where are you right now? A hotel, Rome. I left the villa 3 days ago. Mateo thinks I am at my mother-in-law's. Do you have the children? No, I couldn't take them without him knowing. They are safe. He will not hurt them. He has always been good to them. He has been good to you too, Elena. He has not been good to me, Ara. He has been kind to me. There is a difference. Fair. Ara, we do not have time. We have time, Elena. Listen, I need you to do something. Right now, I need you to hang up this phone. I need you to leave the hotel. I need you to walk 4 blocks in any direction, and I need you to go into a cafe, and I need you to order a coffee, and I need you to use the cafe's phone to call a number I am about to give you. Do you have a pen? Ara. Elena, do you have a pen? Yes. Ara gave her a number she had been saving for 12 years, for an emergency she had not yet had the imagination to name. A number that belonged to a man in Rome who owed Theodore Lask a favor from 1994, and who had, in the fine print of that favor, extended the debt to anyone Lask named. Say the name, Theodore, Ara said. Then stop talking. He will know what to do. He will bring you to a safe place. You will stay there until I come for you. Elena, do you understand me? Ara, do you understand me? Yes. Elena, yes. Stay alive, Elena, please. Ara, yes. I am so sorry. Ara closed her eyes. I know, Elena. I am so sorry. I know. I will see you soon. Yes. The line went dead. Ara Quinn sat very still on the edge of the bed for a full minute. Then she stood up. She walked to the closet. She opened it. Diego had been right. Size 6. She pulled out black slacks, a black sweater, low boots. She dressed. She put her hair up. She took off the robe. She picked up the phone on the nightstand. She pressed a button. It rang once. Ara! Roman's voice, immediate. He had not been sleeping either. Roman, come down. Ara, come down, Roman. Right now, bring Diego. 2 minutes. Roman, yes, bring a gun. He came down in 90 seconds. He was still in the charcoal suit. He had taken off the tie. His face was very calm, which she had come to understand was what Roman Vance looked like when he was afraid. Diego was behind him. Talk to me, Ara. Sit, Roman. I don't want to sit. Roman, sit. He sat. She told him. She told him the whole thing in 4 minutes, the way she had been taught by a godfather she still missed to deliver bad news. No adjectives, no pauses. Elena alive. Matteo a Castellano. The Italian side running the Philadelphia money. The 8-month hunt. The $200,000. And the thing that mattered, the thing at the center, the thing she said last, so it would land hardest. Roman, your father. My father is dead, Ara. Your father 9 years ago. Yes. Did you see the body? Silence. Roman, did you see the body? Roman Vance, who had never lied to his own face about anything in his life, stared at Ara Quinn for a long, long moment. And she watched in real time a thing happen behind his eyes. She watched a man who had spent 9 years believing one thing begin in the span of a breath to believe another. No, Roman said, I did not see the body. Why, Roman? Because the casket was closed. Because they said he stopped. Because they said the heart attack had happened on a long flight, and by the time they got to him, the face had who said, my uncle, my father's brother. Your uncle, the one who runs the warehouses in Newark. Yes. The one who calls you every Sunday. Yes. The one who gave the eulogy at your father's funeral. Yes. The one, Ara said very softly, whose wife is a Castellano by blood. Roman's face did not move. Yes, he said. Diego by the door made a small sound, not a word, just a breath. Roman turned. Diego. Yes, boss. What? Diego did not want to speak. Diego, what? Boss, your uncle, 2 years ago, in November. I drove him to a meeting in Terrytown. I waited in the car. He was in the meeting for 2 hours. When he came out, he was with a man, an older man, tall, white hair, walked with a slight limp left leg. The man kissed your uncle on both cheeks in the old way, got into a different car. I did not see his face directly. It was dark. I thought nothing of it, boss. Diego's voice broke for a second. Diego had not had a voice break in his adult life. I thought nothing of it, boss. The man walked like your father used to walk. But your father was dead, so it was someone else. So I thought nothing of it. Roman Vance did not move. For a full 20 seconds, he did not move at all. Then he stood up. He walked to the window. He looked out at the city. When he turned around, his face was very still. Ara. Yes, Roman. My father is alive. Roman, we don't know that. Ara, my father is alive. My father has been alive for 9 years. My father has been alive and my uncle has known it, and my uncle has been feeding me instructions for 9 years from a grave that does not exist. Roman. My father, Roman Vance said very softly, had your sister killed, or tried to, or ordered her killed, or benefited from her being killed, which in my world is the same thing, Ara, and then my father faked his own death, and then my father watched his son run an empire that is still in ways I have not yet figured out his. Ara did not answer, because there was no answer. Diego. Yes, boss. Go to the 42nd floor, the safe behind the third painting. The combination is my mother's birthday. Bring me the blue folder. Bring me the gray one. Bring me the small brown envelope with the string. Now. Yes, boss. Diego was gone. Roman turned back to Ara. Ara, yes. I need you to do something for me, and I need you to not argue. Tell me. I need you to take one of the cars. Diego's cousin Paolo is downstairs. He is not Italian. He is Brazilian. He works for me. He does not work for my uncle. He does not know my uncle. He will not speak to my uncle. I need you to get in his car. I need you to go to a house in Connecticut. The address is in Diego's phone under Aunt Marguerite. It is not my aunt. It is a woman who was my mother's best friend for 40 years. My mother, Era. My mother does not work for my uncle either. My mother has been waiting for this phone call for 9 years, I think, though I did not understand that until tonight. You are going to Connecticut. You are going to sit in that house. You are going to wait for me. Roman, Ara, I am not leaving you. You are Era. I am not. Roman, listen to me. If your father is alive, if your uncle has been playing you for 9 years, if the Italian side has been hunting me for 8 months, then the safest place for both of us is the same place, which is together, which is here. If we split up, Roman, they pick us off one at a time. If we stay together, we are a harder target. You do not send me to Connecticut. You do not send me anywhere. Tonight, Roman, we stop running on their clock. We start running on ours. He looked at her for a long moment. Then very slowly he nodded. Okay. Okay. Okay, Ara. Together. Together, Roman. Diego came back with the folders. He set them on the table. Roman did not open them yet. He looked at Ara. Ara. Yes. Before we open these, before we do any of this, I need to tell you one thing. Tell me, Roman. He took a breath. If what you have told me tonight is true, and I believe that it is, then my family, for reasons I do not yet understand, tried to kill your sister 12 years ago. My family has directly or indirectly broken your family. My blood is on your hands, Ara. Even if I didn't know it, and I did not know it, and tonight I am learning I did not know a lot of things. So I am going to say this one time. If you want to walk out of this building tonight, take one of my cars, take whatever money you need, and disappear. I will help you. I will not come after you. I will not ask where you went. I will carry this thing alone the way I should have been carrying it all along. You have given this family 4 years, Ara. You do not owe us your 5th. She looked at him, and for the first time since she had sat down across from Vincent Castellano at Delmonico's, Era Quinn smiled, really smiled. A full, honest, open smile, the kind she had been hiding behind cardigans for 4 years. Roman Vance, yes. I did not spend 4 years in a cardigan to walk away on night 1. Ara, I chose you, Roman, 4 years ago. I chose you on purpose. I have not in 4 years had one single reason to unchoose you, not even tonight. So no, I will not take the car. I will not take the money. I will not disappear. You and I are going to open those folders. You and I are going to make phone calls. You and I are going to find your father and my sister's husband, and your uncle and Vincent Castellano, and the lender in Philadelphia, and every single thread in this very long rope. And we are going to pull Roman, thread by thread, until the whole thing comes apart, together. Roman Vance, for the first time in 9 years, put his hand over his eyes. Ara! Yes, thank you. Don't thank me, Roman. Open the folder. He opened the folder. Inside were 3 things: a photograph, a ledger, and a sealed envelope with his name on it in his father's handwriting. Roman did not touch the envelope, not yet. He picked up the photograph. It was an old photograph, maybe 15 years old. It showed his father, Giancarlo Vance, standing on a dock in what looked like southern Italy. Next to him was a man Roman did not recognize. And next to that man, holding a child of maybe 6 or 7, was a woman. A woman Ara recognized instantly. Roman, yes, that is my mother. Roman's jaw tightened. You are sure? I am sure, Roman. That is my mother. That is my mother 15 years ago. That is my mother in Italy, which my mother never visited in her life, according to my mother. That is my mother holding a child I have never seen before in my life. Ara, yes. How old would your sister have been 15 years ago? She did the math. 15, she said. So that is not Elena. No, that is not Elena. Then who is that child? They looked at each other. And Ara Quinn, the unseen architect of an empire she had quietly built around a man she had chosen, understood that she had not, after all, reached the bottom of the hole. Roman, yes, we are going to need a bigger table. They sat down at the bigger table. It was 3 in the morning when they made the first phone call. It was 6 in the morning when they made the last. In between, Roman Vance and Ara Quinn picked up every thread in the long rope that was their lives, and they began slowly and patiently and with a cold shared fury to pull. By sunrise, Roman's uncle had received a phone call from a voice he did not recognize asking him to meet at a diner in Newark at 8 a.m. He went. He did not come home. By noon, Vincent Castellano had received a letter hand-delivered which contained a photograph of himself standing on a dock in southern Italy 15 years earlier. The letter was 1 sentence long. I would like to renegotiate our 20%. It was unsigned. Vincent knew who it was from. By evening, Matteo Castellano in a villa outside Palermo went to his study to take a phone call and never came out of the study. By morning, his mother-in-law realized Elena was not there, had never been there, and had never been coming. By nightfall the day after, Elena Quinn, under a name her sister had chosen for her, was on a plane to a city neither of them had ever been to with a new passport and 2 children she had not been allowed to bring, but who were. Through a series of phone calls, Ira Quinn would never discuss in detail already on their way. By the end of the month, the Philadelphia lender was no longer operating. $7.2 million had been returned quietly to various accounts it had originally been stolen from. 8 people who had worked in that operation retired suddenly to warm climates. One of them was the informant inside Roman's organization. Nobody asked what happened to him. Nobody needed to. By the end of the year, Roman Vance had found his father. His father was in a villa in Argentina. His father was 71 years old, tanned and healthy, and had it turned out been the one who ordered the train in Tuscany 12 years earlier, because Elena Quinn had been at 22, the only person in the world who had pieced together a paper trail between the Vance organization and a murder in 2007 that Giancarlo Vance had personally ordered. His father had faked his death 9 years ago, not to escape the law, but to escape his own son, whom he had correctly guessed would, given enough time, do what sons eventually do to fathers who will not get out of the way. Roman went to Argentina alone. Ara did not ask what happened there. He came back a week later. He had aged 5 years. He sat down across from her in his office at the desk where she now sat beside him, not across from him, and he said one sentence. "It's done." She poured him a drink. He drank it. They did not speak of Giancarlo Vance again. A year after the dinner at Delmonico's, Vance Towers, 42nd floor, had 2 desks, not one. They faced each other. On one of them, there was a plaque that said Roman Vance, Chief Executive. On the other, there was a plaque that said simply, Ara Quinn, Partner. Elena lived in a house on Long Island with her 2 children and a large dog. She had dinner with her sister every Sunday. She never spoke to a Castellano again. Vincent Castellano, who had renegotiated his 20% down to 12, died quietly of natural causes 18 months after the letter. He left the bulk of his estate in a will that surprised no one who had been at Delmonico's that night to a charity run by Ara Quinn. Diego's brother came back from Florida to run security for the Vance Quinn organization. He was paid very well. He never complained about his time in prison again because he now understood finally who had been paying him. Roman Vance's mother had Sunday dinners for her son and her son's partner every single Sunday for the rest of her life. She never once in those dinners said, "I told you so." But she did once at the end of a long meal with too much wine reach across the table and put her hand over Ara's hand and say in a voice that was very soft and very proud, "I always knew, child. I always knew you would be the one to bring him home." And Roman Vance, sitting across from the woman he had once ordered to wear something that did not embarrass him, watching her laugh at something his mother had just said, understood finally and completely the shape of his own life. He had spent 38 years thinking he was the boss. He had been all along the lucky one. The ruthless mafia boss had taken his ugly secretary to dinner, and she had given him in return the only thing he had ever truly needed, a partner, an equal, a woman who saw him all the way through and stayed anyway. And from that night forward, for the rest of their days, nobody in that city, in that country, in that world ever underestimated Ara Quinn again. Not once, not ever. The end.